Have you ever looked at yourself and quietly wondered, where did the old me go? You still look the same on the outside, but inside, something doesn't feel familiar anymore. You still talk to people. You still smile when you're supposed to. But somehow, it feels like your real voice has become quieter than it used to be. The strange part is that nothing dramatic has to happen. Sometimes you slowly stop recognizing yourself without even noticing when it began. You still know your name, your job, your routine, but they don't feel connected to the person you are today. Maybe you've blamed yourself for being lazy. But what if you're not lazy at all? What if you've simply been running on an empty battery for far too long? For years, you may have believed everyone else had life figured out. Meanwhile, your own direction kept changing every time you looked for it. And here's the strange part. Your identity doesn't disappear overnight. It slowly gets buried beneath stress, expectations, and constant noise. When every day starts looking the same, your mind quietly switches to survival mode. You're no longer living. You're just getting through the day. That's why hobbies stop feeling exciting. Conversations become shorter. Even the things that once made you feel alive begin to lose their spark. You might keep moving forward, going to work, studying, finishing tasks. But deep down, it can feel like you're walking without really going anywhere. Sometimes you look at old photos and think, I miss that version of me. Not because life was perfect, but because you felt more connected to yourself. The hardest part is not knowing when things changed. It feels as if time kept moving, while a part of you quietly stayed behind. Psychology has an interesting explanation for this. Your brain protects you from overwhelming stress by focusing on survival instead of self-expression. That means the person you miss isn't necessarily gone. They've simply become harder to hear beneath everything you've been carrying. And that's where everything starts to change. Because if stress can slowly disconnect you from yourself, small moments can slowly bring you back. Your brain stores experiences like files, but when you're constantly stressed, those files become messy. You don't lose yourself. You just lose easy access to the person you've always been. Think about the last few months. Stress, pressure, disappointment, loneliness. None of them seem overwhelming on their own. But mixed together, they can slowly drain the color from everyday life. This is why you might say, I don't really feel anything anymore. It's not because your emotions disappeared. They're simply running quieter than before. Psychologists call this emotional disconnection. It's the strange feeling of watching yourself live life instead of actually feeling present in it. But here's the surprising part. Your mind isn't trying to hurt you. It's trying to protect you by conserving energy until it feels safe again. That's why healing rarely happens overnight. It happens through small moments that slowly remind your brain. It's okay to feel alive again. Notice how your best moments often happen when you're not forcing them. A simple laugh, a quiet walk, a song you forgot you loved. That's your real self gently knocking again. Your identity isn't a destination waiting somewhere in the future. It's a signal that's always been there. Sometimes it just gets buried beneath the noise. Many people wait until they feel like themselves before doing the things they love. But psychology suggests something different. Action often comes before emotion. One small action won't change your life overnight, but it changes something even more important. It reminds your brain that movement is still possible. The world hasn't suddenly become brighter. You're simply beginning to notice the colors that stress had been hiding from you. Every healthy habit, every honest conversation, every moment of rest, They're tiny threads. Alone, they seem insignificant. Together, they slowly weave you back together. Maybe you've spent years believing something was missing inside you. But what if nothing was missing? What if you were simply still growing? Healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about allowing the parts of you that went quiet to move again. And this changes everything. Because the goal was never to find a completely different version of yourself. It was to reconnect with the one who never truly left. You don't become yourself by starting over. You become yourself by slowly repairing the parts that life has worn down. The biggest change usually doesn't happen outside of you. It happens the moment you quietly choose yourself again. Sometimes, the problem isn't that you've changed. It's that stress has been looking at your life through a blurry lens. A kite can't fly without its frame. In the same way, your mind needs simple routines, rest and kindness, before it can truly feel free again. Think about a guitar. When one string falls out of tune, you don't throw the whole instrument away. You gently tune it until it sounds like itself again. Maybe you don't need a completely different life. Maybe only a few small adjustments are enough to help everything feel aligned again. Healing rarely feels dramatic. Most days it looks like 1 extra % of energy, one small smile, one little step forward. You don't have to become perfect before you're allowed to be proud of yourself. Progress deserves a place, even when it still has a few wrinkles. The real you never disappeared. The connection was simply weak, and every small act of self-care helps that signal grow stronger. One day, you'll notice something strange. The things that once felt impossible start feeling natural again. Not because life became easier, but because your heart finally has room to breathe. Here's something most people never realize. Your identity isn't a finished painting. It's a blank canvas that keeps changing as you grow. Stop comparing your journey to everyone else's. A different path doesn't mean you're lost. It simply means you're writing a different story. When you look back one day, you'll probably see that every difficult season taught you something your comfortable seasons never could. Maybe you've spent years waiting for someone else to tell you who you are. But no machine, no job, no title can decide that for you. So if you don't feel like yourself right now, don't panic. The real you isn't gone. They're patiently waiting beneath the stress, the pressure, and the expectations. Keep taking small steps, and one day you'll realize you were never becoming someone new. You were simply finding your way back home. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more psychology videos.